Hello, hello. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Hope you all enjoyed that embarrassing intro jam.
Slap of the bass.
Something like that.
This is the first time we've had a bass on the live stream, right?
Something like that.
In this shop, at least.
Yeah, I think so. Kai, what's up? Dylan, what's up?
Hello, hello.
Matt, what's up? What's wrong with that blue guitar? It looks weird. Yeah, I know. This is Joe's latest experiment. It's some whack 4-string garbage.
Boss.
Also, I think the volume, let's turn that all the way off so I'm not hearing myself on my laptop for chat. Yeah, it's a 4-string bass. So I do think this is the first time we've done a bass on the live stream.
Yes, the Monoceros.
And we're, spoiler alert, we're recording some bass content. So I'm feeling froggy. So we have the bass on the live stream today.
Yeah.
Today is Friday. It is 2:40-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time, EST, where we are here in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
We hope everyone has had a great week. And we are going to get kicked off in today's live stream. So everyone's already jumping in. Again, Kai, Dylan, Matt, Haziel, yo, what's up, bass?
Hey,
Lavender
what's up?
Diablo got sold so fast. We will talk about that. Offset Crazy 2025. Happy Friday to you too. And Kai, if Jake hits a pinch squeal, the stream ends. Yeah, I'd have to give it like
Nice.
give it the Billy Sheehan treatment or something.
Attack.
We'll see what we can do. But if it crashes, you'll know that's why.
Yeah, how's the bass sound?
The bass sounds rad as hell. It sounds better when my cell phone's not ringing. I hope it sounds good. If I'm completely honest, we didn't even do a test before we started. We just kind of jumped into it.
Sometimes you got to do it live.
But yeah, it is. This is the Monoceros bass, the Balaguer Monoceros, and it's equipped with 2 Morocco Bucker humbuckers. We'll get to all those details in a minute too. So if you're into bass, hang out. If you're into sparkly 6-string guitars that aren't tuned in the way Joe wants them tuned, hang out. If you want to do a thing, we can do that too. We're going to talk about all sorts of cool stuff today. We're going to talk about the spring cleaning sale. We're going to talk about current pre-orders, future pre-orders, and then we're going to play the tone word game, which is something we've been looking forward to doing. So we'll get to embarrass ourselves, hopefully embarrass you. It'll be a good time. So, spring cleaning. Joe, tell them about the spring cleaning sale.
So at the end of every winter time, every year, almost every year, maybe not every year, but definitely this year, we go through spring cleaning, not just in the shop, but in our inventory, and see what we have overstock of, what we have B-stock of. So guitars that were either damaged in transit or just have some small blemishes here or there. And we offer them up to our customers at a pretty discounted price. And they've been flying out of here. So we have 1 left out of the Espada Limiteds, and that's it. So it's been great. And yeah, it's still going on. So it'll be going on until the stock is gone, which won't be for much longer.
Which may be today.
Yeah.
Today may be the last day.
Yeah, every now and again, you know, we do that when we go through a large run and we have some extras left over that don't meet our, you know, quality standards for cosmetic reasons. The guitars still rip, and we offer them up at a discount. So go check that out if you haven't.
Yes, do it. Go to the in stock section. Things are on sale. It's cool.
Yeah. It also,
Mario. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
sorry to interrupt.
He's not sorry.
It also applies to other in stock stuff, including Jake's 7-string guitar that's on there right now for sale.
That's true. You know,
So-
it's been well maintained because I maintained it, and
Yeah.
it's been here in the shop for most of its life. But yeah, it is up for sale. Check it out.
Comes
If
with,
you want a 7-string Diablo in a 26.5-inch scale width,
yeah,
carved top, metallic, Lake Placid blue, it's pretty rad.
comes with free pinch harmonics
Yes, it do.
with every note.
Mario, happy Friday. Jake went from 7 to 4 strings.
Got
Yes.
that nice clank.
Yeah, you like that?
I was saving the over mic clank.
Oh, yeah, I ain't worried about it. Joe was asking if I have push pulls on this, and the answer is yes. Which
Nice.
this is actually my bass. I did a couple of things to it when I got it. It had volume tone. I swapped that out for a master volume tone blend. And I swapped that out. No, it was volume tone. And I went master volume, master tone with a 3-way toggle because I like that. It's not very common on basses, but I think it's super rad. Companies like Yamaha like to do it. And it is. It looks really cool. So I did leave the coil split on the master volume, so I can go from a very, what I would consider Tim Comerford-esque mid-forward bridge Morocco bucker, wide open kind of sound, like this. From that kind of sound to a neck pickup split, which I really like the way the Morocco bucker sound split, and something a little more mellow like this. Same tone on the QC, but so it's a very versatile pickup set. I'm not
cool.
usually one for split sounds, even on guitars, if I'm completely honest. They add to the versatility, and I'm happy to say, without just drinking the Kool-Aid, that our pickups split exceptionally well. Many don't, though. But I tend to gravitate more to it on the bass than I do even on my guitars, because the Morocco buckers do split very well, which is a lot of fun. Simon, is that hip shot bridge on that guitar better than the original version? If you mean the hip shot Ibby versus the regular hip shot hardtail, they're not better or worse. I think it's just really a different feel and a different vibe.
Yeah, I mean, one of the main differences besides the actual size of the base plate is the amount of intonation range you get with the extended screw length per saddle. So you can actually get more range of intonation adjustment with the Hipshot Ibby bridge than you can with the normal Hipshot hardtail, but that doesn't mean one is better than the other. This definitely has a different feel on your palm because the actual side of the bridge base plate has a longer slope to the radius and how they kind of curve the overall shape. So I would try both out and see kind of what you prefer. But like Jake said, it's kind of just down to personal preference.
That is true. I mean, to me, when I like the aesthetic, I like the chunkier look personally. I think it adds a little something to the ass end of the guitar, frankly, that I enjoy to see. I think that the regular hip shot bridge definitely it's tighter and it literally has a little more of an edge. Like Joe was saying, this is a very radiused edge to the bridge. So the regular hip shot has a really compact look and feels very like anchored in a way where this has a lot of surface area that's very smooth. So you don't feel that like anchor point as much under your hand, at least in my opinion. Not that that's better or worse. Again, totally personal preference. I tend to prefer the feel of the regular hipshot hardtail, but I like the look and adjustability of the Ibby. So yeah, could go either way. They're
Yeah.
equally as rad. They're made of the same materials. There's no difference in the like the actual makeup. It's just in the physical construction.
Yep.
And they rule. Everything Hipshot does is pretty damn good. So can't really go wrong there.
Yep,
Good question though. Yo, John. Sorry I'm late. It's Flow with the Flood Friday. True story though. That's also really rad.
Nice. What's up, dude?
And work meetings suck, so I'm glad you're out of it. And if I'm on speaker right now and you're in a work meeting, I hope they hear me. Is that the Nam Seraph that haunts me in my dreams?
It is.
Yes, it is. Allow yourself to be haunted forever. Sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Hashtag parasomnia.
Yeah, this is one of 3 finishes we did with this run. This is the rose gold sparkle for those who don't know.
Yeah, we also did a metallic black, a black sparkle. We also did a jewel white, which is this really great sort of off-white color shifty thing. If you've seen the live stream before, you've seen me play the 7-string version. If you were at NAMM, you saw the 7-string version there. We do have some of those left, not very many. A bunch of them will be going to shout out Matt D, who is in the chat. We'll be going to Drop D Guitars, and then we have a bunch that are already pre-ordered and or going to friends who reached out about it. And you know, I think we have, I don't know, I want to say 4 or 5 left. I can't remember what finishes they're in.
I think we have 2 black 6-strings left.
2 black 6-string. Is that it?
I think we may have some 7s too. I'm not sure. If they check the site, it
look
has,
on the website.
Has an accurate stock count. So
Yes. It's very cool though. Check them out. There's some of my favorite guitars we've done because they're a great balance between like super high end spec, but really not over the top. Like they're stripped down. They're super comfortable. They're very compact. The Seraph as a shape is something that I think for me, the first time I picked one up, I was like, oh wow, I get it. Because it's one of those shapes that's super ergonomic and really comfortable to wear and to play. It very much stays out of your way, which is nice. So yeah, check it out. Go to the website, BalaguerGuitars.com, and look under the USA series, and you will see the Seraph Modern, and they will be listed in all of their guises, in all of their configurations, and you can scoop one up to make yourself happy for the rest of 2025 because we fill the void with gear. Say it with me now. We fill the void with gear.
Someone make a meme out of that.
So, yeah, they're super rad. Check them out. And thanks for the shout, John. Nick, yo, what's up?
Hey.
Good to see you. Matt, watching this at work right now, LOL. There we go. Nice. I'm a truck driver, and I have a trainee today, so I'm just listening in the passenger seat while getting paid.
There you go.
There you go. We won't tell anybody.
Hi, trainee.
Hi, Mr. or Mrs. Trainee. No, that's awesome. Thanks for dropping in, man. Thanks for hanging out. Kai says Seraph looks like it balances really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge body shape. It's just the right size, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm incredibly biased, but you have enough purchase with your arm to where sometimes with smaller bodies, you feel like your arm's a little too far forward towards the neck, where this feels kind of just where it needs to be. So your hand falls in between the pickups where it should be. And yeah, there's also like more photos of these guitars, like actual real life photos on our Instagram from NAMM. If you want to see more photos of this or the 7-string Jake's talking about, we also posted photos of the black one recently. So yeah, super happy with how these came out.
Yeah, I think anyone who's played them has had nothing but nice things to say about them, which is not always the case. As guitar players, we are very particular, and I think everyone finds something not to like about a particular guitar. These have been, again, I think people are surprised at how effortless it is to play, and like that includes the balance, Kai, and the weight, the way that it sits on you and the way that it sits against you. It's just very out of the way. It's a great shape, super comfortable.
It's got a 5-way switch, 1 volume, our fission bucker pickups, and 25.5-inch scale on the 6, 27 on the 7.
Yeah, which is cool. If you're into the legit 27-inch or baritone scale 7 strings, it's a 27-inch scale. And like Joe said, the 6-string is a 25.5 for a more standard 6-string feel. Yeah. Very cool stuff.
Yeah.
Man, Matt, you're killing me. I love it watching this at work right now. That's so awesome. Simon, are you planning to make a factory tour video sometime, or is it available somewhere online? It is not available somewhere online. We've done some live streams in the past where we've done shop walkthroughs and sort of shop tour like esque videos. It's something that we get asked to do a lot. I'm sure we will eventually. I'm 100% sure.
Yeah.
The question really is just when. We always seem to have other things to talk about.
Yeah. I think it's a possibility for later this year because we do have some content we're going to put together showcasing some of our overseas shops that we work with, both in Indonesia and South Korea, because Jake and I are going to be flying over to South Korea at some point this year.
Shout out.
And then I think it would be cool to maybe compile a video of all three. So showing our USA shop, especially because we're still under construction with getting the paint booth where it needs to be and everything like that.
Yeah, always a work in progress.
And Indonesia and South Korea could be cool to kind of do an all-in-one behind the scenes type of thing.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, and it's, for what it's worth, to set the expectation, there is no factory here.
No, it's a small shop.
Yeah, what we do here in PA in the US is, I think, smaller than a lot of people think it is, in the best possible way, where it is a very tight-knit team. We are not a lot of people.
Yeah, it's just three of us in this shop.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, and then there's, let's say, 6 in Korea, and those, if we do production stuff, are more like full-on production facilities that have half a dozen CNCs and multiple paint booths, and it's more of a setup like that.
Yep.
But in the States, it's very much a one at a time kind of thing, which is why things like the Heritage Series and any USA Series guitar are so rad to work on. But that's a good question. And yes, we would love to do that. It's just a matter of time.
Yep.
Haziel, do I need to wait to send the remainder for a pre-order until they're ready for shipping, or can I send it earlier? That's a good question. I've actually got that question multiple times over the past couple months, and it's something that we didn't really clarify because, if we're honest, I don't think we thought anyone would want to pay early just because of the way things tend to go. But we would be more than happy for you to pay early. All you have to do is email us, Haziel. Of course, you have our personal email. So just shoot us an email. We can send you the invoice for the remainder. You can knock it out and then not think about it anymore.
Yep.
And typically, just so that anyone in the chat who is unaware can be informed hereafter, we have a deposit structure for all of our stuff. If you order a select custom, you can pay 50% up front when you place your order, and the remainder, the 50% remaining is what I meant to say. The remainder is due when the guitar is complete. Yep. So the guitar will be complete, let's say 6 months later, and then you pay then, and then we final set up and send it to you. So if you would rather do that rather than pay in full, you certainly can. Not that we don't appreciate you just paying up front and being done with it. That's cool too. But whatever makes you happy. We're always trying to find ways to make it easier for people to sort of spread the wealth. Not just obviously from a beneficial standpoint for us where we can sell more guitars, which is cool, but also it's less prohibitive for people to be able to afford a select custom when they can spread the payment out.
Yeah.
And that's really, I mean, it's, even if it's not about you not having the money, even if you just want to spread it out for cash flow reasons or whatever, we just try and remove every possible barrier.
Yeah.
Because we want people to be happy, and guitars make people happy. Say it with me. We fill the void with gear. But seriously, check it out. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's across the board too. We do deposits on runs. We do deposits on select customs.
Yes.
USA builds, like whatever.
Yeah, it's not just the select customs.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a good question too. So I think we'll clarify that a little bit more. We'll probably refer people to this live stream in the future. Matt, what's the lifespan of the LED inlays? I think they're so cool and would love to have them on a future build, but I don't know about maintenance for them. That's a very fair question. Boy, a lot of good questions today.
They're supposed to be thousands of hours.
Yep.
With that said, just like any other LED lights you've probably owned before that you've hung in your room or behind us, or
behind us, not behind you, behind us
for Christmas, stuff. It really depends. We definitely have had cases in the past where they've lasted people years and years. We've had ones where we've had to replace them. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm just saying that it is a possibility when you have something that is attached to a PCB board inside a control cavity.
Yes.
But it's all fixable.
Yep.
But yes, they're supposed to last thousands of hours.
Yeah. Realistically, you would, I mean, we're talking, they say like 10 years or something with average use.
Yeah.
Like you should frankly destroy the guitar before the LEDs die at any point. But like Joe said, everything can be repaired.
Yep.
So, if you do end up 10 years down the road and we're, ruling the planet and you're like, oh, overlords, will you please repair the LED in my guitar? And we're like, yes, peon, we will do it. That's not at all how it works.
No, not
yeah,
at
just
all.
reach out to us.
Yeah.
info@balaguerguitars.com, and we will very happily answer your questions. I think we're all a bit infected lately based on everything that's going on, at least in our country. So we try to bring joy into the world rather than allow those horrible things to affect people.
Yes.
But that's a great question, Matt. And the answer is a very long time, unless something were to go wrong, in which case we will take care of it for you. Other things that we have going on, we talked about the Seraphs. For those of you who don't know, pre-orders are also open for the Standard Series Growler Baritone, which is a 27-inch 6-string baritone growler in rustic black, single bridge pickup, block inlays, super stripped down. There are, I think, a handful of those left, 4 or 5. So check those out.
Yep.
Also, the Mitch 6, the new signature model that we released at NAMM, is available for pre-order. Those have been flying like hotcakes, which is super cool. Selling like hotcakes, flying like things that fly. Super cool. And yeah, check them out. That Mitch 6 guitar really blew up. And Mitch is an amazing dude. Silent Planet is a sick-ass band. It's a really cool spec, 28.5-inch Espada, 6-string baritone, Evertune bridge, Bacote veneer. It's a really bespoke spec that he chose. P90s, humbucker-sized P90s. So you can try out his spec P90s that he custom designed with Joe. If you don't like those, you can swap them out for regular humbuckers. We wanted to make that a thing. So you can also find those at balaguerguitars.com. Photos, pre-order box, all that stuff. And if you have any questions about any of that stuff, reach out to us. info@balaguerguitars.com. We also recommend that you join the Balaguer Facebook discussion group, the BGFBDG. Yes, where you can join in all of the discussions that we have about guitars and guitar-related stuff. It's a really good hang. It's a very positive place to hang on the interwebs, which is a welcome haven. So yeah, look it up. Come check out what we do and hang out with us and give us your opinion on what you like. Because, Joe, we will be announcing a bunch of stuff soon that people have not heard about yet. And if you want to be the first person to hear about it, or at least among the first people to hear about it, you should either be in the Facebook discussion group, or following us on Instagram, or joining our newsletter, which you can find at balaguerguitars.com, so that you are notified of things like that when they are made available to you. And with cool things on the horizon, now would be a good time to make sure you don't miss out on announcements.
All the things.
All the things. Many things. Some asked for, some brand new.
Some would say all the small things.
Some would say all the small things.
Yeah.
And yeah, be sure to check it out.
And big things, maybe. Know
I thought that's what you were about to play.
I played it poorly though. It's been a few decades.
A few decades, indeed. Kai says new Silent Planet releases today too. Yeah, super sick.
That's right.
The teasers have been killer. Can't wait to give it a listen. Jesse Parks, hey, we know you.
What's up, dude?
Mitch 6, cannot wait to spend some time with that guitar. Yeah.
Yep.
Man, it's a beast. And it's
plus it's a set neck.
Yeah, it's a set neck, 28.5-inch scale, Espada. I mean, it just rips. Evertune bridge, the P90s, like, it's such a cool sound. I would say there are very few guitars on the market today that do what that guitar does, if any.
Yeah.
Which is really rad. You know, it's a 6-string baritone with an Evertune and P90s. A lot of people have baritones with P90s. A lot of people have baritone guitars with Evertunes. But to have all of that on one guitar with a Bacote veneer in a unique body shape,
plus those pickups in that guitar with that scale length, it's a cool combination of specs. And obviously, you know, credit where credit's due. Mitch really honed in on kind of what encapsulates that type of sound, and it is that guitar.
100%.
So if you dig what he does or what Silent Planet does, that's the right tool for it, for sure.
It'd be to fit. Kai, Evertune Ambient Espada confirmed. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised the things that we talk about behind closed doors.
Yeah. It would not be able to be chambered the same way, that's for sure.
No.
No. But that could be cool.
That would be rad.
Yeah.
We have talked about doing, variations of the ambient thing, whether it's a different model or a hardtail version of the ambient Espada, or all those things get thrown around.
Is there a button on there that like inserts the Tom Hanks "Just Wait" gif? Just wait. I don't know. It would be an ample.
We could do that.
Yeah,
actually.
We could, and we should.
Yeah, actually, we'll do that. Shout out to Elgato and their Stream Deck. Not a sponsor. But yeah, definitely rad. Haziel says, don't forget lumen lay side dots too. Yeah, it does have lumen lay side dots. So even though the guitar is like kind of blacked out, you can still see everything really well.
Yep.
It's a good weight. It's a good look. Everyone follow Mitch Stark on Instagram and tell him how much you love him, Silent Planet, and the Balaguer Guitars Mitch 6.
Yeah.
And tell him we sent you so that he only hates us. No, he's a killer dude. So yeah, check it out.
He doesn't kill dudes.
No,
he's a killer.
He's a killer dude.
Yeah,
he does not kill dudes. Well, he might. I don't know what he does in his spare time beyond play guitar and be a rad hang. But you know, who knows? Don't tell him we said that. So, Joe,
tone words.
Anyone who saw our post earlier today, which was at least 3 of you, probably laughed to yourself because we are often trying to find fun ways to make fun of ourselves. Yes. We search for them, chercher for the things that will basically allow us to be self-deprecating in a positive way. And we were discussing some things that guitarists do that are hilarious. Musicians in general, but somehow guitarists get a bad rap, probably because they deserve it, of using really weird words to describe things. And this is something we see on the interwebs all the time, right? Someone will say, why do we use all these dumb words? Why don't we just say, well, this tone means there's a 5 dB spike of 6K in the gain structure of the lower frequencies? And it's like, yo, dude, because no one understands what that means. That's why. And even if you did, because a lot of producers do, and recording engineers, they think of things in EQ spectrum, and it's not a hurtful thing. But when you're talking to someone, there's a weird phenomenon where I think we naturally latch on to these things. And once your brain attaches to this abstract descriptor of this thing, you hear it in a way that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then from then on and forever, therefore, you associate those sounds with those funky words.
And it evolves or devolves or however you want to frame it.
Yes. And John and Kai have already started the trend here, but you know these words. If you play guitar, bass, or if you're even a drummer or a singer and you hang out with other musicians or you do anything else, you will have heard these words. There's I literally guarantee you will have heard these words in passing.
I'm sure we've used them in these streams before.
We have definitely used them in this stream before. I would bet my life. And I don't do that very often because I value it somewhat. So this is how it's going to work. Drop the words in the chat. Like I said, John and Kai have already started, and these are really good words, so we're going to use these. But what I want to do to get us kicked off, I'm going to give Joe a word, and he's going to describe to you what that word means.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to give it in guitar parlance, and he's going to spell it out for all of us as if we were 12-year-olds trying to learn about tone.
I did not know I was going to be put on the spot like this. I did not know anything about this game.
Well, don't
Just
worry.
Forewarning.
You're going to get to return the favor.
Okay,
because you're
great.
going to get to do the same thing.
I hope you can explain strongly then.
Yeah. Yes, I can. As a matter of fact, explain all the things. And disclaimer.
You didn't say well.
I didn't say well. That is the disclaimer. Is that, A, all of this stuff is subjective, right? If you think a tone is scratchy, that might mean one thing to you. If Joe thinks a tone is woofy, that might mean something to him.
Yeah.
Now, what's wild is that over the years, all of these things have sort of been consolidated. So there tends to be a general understanding of the commonly used words.
For sure.
And once you experience it, you know. It's like playing Buffalo. If any of you know the game Buffalo, the only rule is once you know the rule, you have to play the game for the rest of your life. So it's one of those things. Once you know you've been blue pilled or whatever, and you're freaking, you're awake at that point. Yep. There's no escaping it. So,
damn,
booyah. To get this started,
okay.
Mr. Joe Balaguer, I'll even softball one to you because your guitar's not in drop C. I know you're feeling a little weird today. So,
hey man, I can play hard rock too.
It's a guitar specific word, and I think it's one that gets thrown around all the time, and someone might have actually said it. I thought I saw it a second ago. Hold on. Yes, Kai, you did say it. So the word is glassy. If I were to describe to you a glassy guitar tone.
Yeah.
So describe it to me verbally first before you do any playing.
I'm already preemptively.
And then, yeah, I got it. Okay. And then, so glassy is one of those words that is often thrown around for cleaner tones.
Yeah.
It has a certain implication, not just clean tones, but it has a certain implication. So if I were to tell you, Joe Balaguer, describe to me a glassy tone, what does that mean to you?
A more rounded, smoother sounding clean tone that reminds me of like glass wind chimes and how the notes go in and out of like a round sounding, what's the word? Ambiance? I don't know.
Sure.
I can give you an example.
All right, let's hear it. That is a great example. And I would agree with you. I think a glassy tone has that clarity, and especially when you hit the high strings and you get that bit of chirp on it.
Yeah.
And I think you, which is ironic because we're using other words to describe the word.
Like a bird.
So glassy, yes, we're using words like chirp or chimey. You said chimey. Yes, like a bird. Yeah. You said chimey. Chimey's another one. What does chimey mean? Chimey, I would say
wind chime like.
Yeah, or it means like clear. Usually in the high end, you get a bit of lift, of clarity, of bite. There's another one in the tone. So I think that's a great example. And for those, I think Kai, shout out to dropping glassy in the chat. And I think that's a good one.
Yep.
Here's a fun one for you. I'll give you 3 and then we'll swap places.
Okay.
This is from Daryl. Shout out to Daryl for hanging out.
What's up, Daryl?
Because this is a good one. He says, this is one that always makes you think what it means. So going back to what I originally said, where there are some
like an onomatopoeia type of thing?
Well, it's just like an obtuse descriptor, but everyone kind of agrees on the same thing. When you hear it, you kind of know what it means almost inherently, like intuitively. And the word is creamy. So if you have a creamy guitar tone, if you have a creamy guitar tone, what does that mean to you? If you're describing to me a creamy tone. You can also use players and well-known tones as examples, because this one conjures up a couple for me. But
I don't know what button it would be on the QC, how you have it set up, but when I think of creamy, I think mid-gain neck pickup or like 4th position of a Strat, where it's like a creamy lead sound, where it's very, and maybe this is part of it, like fluid sounding, like it's very, it's not crisp or high in treble. I'm trying to avoid these other descriptors, but for some kind of more narrow focused approach. But yeah, I mean, I think of like you know Andy Timmons when he
Okay.
flips to the middle position or the
Sure,
neck
sure.
position on
See,
a
I think
strat.
that's bitier than it is creamy.
Well, I guess it depends on the tone, right? So like if I'm thinking of a mid-gain tone and it has that, for a lack of better words, chewy sounding,
Ah,
creamy, like mid-gain tone where it almost sounds like slightly muffled, but
sure,
not.
sure.
Um, it's definitely lacking treble, lacking high mids. It's more focused on the lower mids.
Yes.
That's the best way I could describe it.
Yeah. To me, and because I was probably because I was raised on this music, and also because he was in a band that had these types of tones,
Mm-hmm.
and was named somewhat like it. When I think of creamy, I think of Cream. I think of Eric Clapton. I think of that super warm tone rolled off a little bit, neck pickup tone, which you could probably do with button B in the neck position. Or sorry, button A, B, C, D, E, F. There you go. I would say that's creamier than a lot of modern tones, which is, again, it's that warmth. It doesn't have a lot of bite. It doesn't rip your head off. It's very, not necessarily saggy, which that's a more legitimate term because it does have a voltage implication. But I would say it's not always saggy, but I think it's implied that a creamy tone is warm, meaning does not have a lot of treble,
right,
and has a bit of sag to it.
Yeah.
Where it's a sort of softer sound.
You're explaining it better than I did. So
if anyone here has ever watched Archer, which by the way is one of my all-time favorite shows, there's this running joke of like the wordplay, right? And there's this whole episode where they're making jokes about how everything we say in English is an idiom, where it's the same thing here. I feel like you can't describe tone without using an idiom, without using a word that doesn't actually represent what it is.
Right.
And it's hilarious. Anyway, I'm going to hit a bunch of these real quick.
Okay.
And I just want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. We're going to burn through some of these because there are going to be a whole bunch more. Y'all keep sending them in. We got snappy.
Ooh.
Not literally, hurry up.
Oh, bridge pickup of a Strat on a clean sound.
Okay. I was going to say bolt on, that bit of bam, like snap, really quick attack tone. Beefy.
Ooh. Les Paul or similar double humbucker guitar.
Yeah, low mids.
Low mids into a high gain amp.
Ooh.
Yep.
Woofy or woolly. But they're not the same thing, but I'll throw them both in there. Woofy, woolly.
Doom metal, neck pickup.
Yes,
fuzz pedal.
I would say nearly equivalent to hairy.
Maybe
that little bit of like crunchy on the top end.
When you say hairy, I think
hair
like
metal.
JCM 800, 1980s hair metal.
Sure. We already did chimey, glassy, bitey, and snappy are kind of similar. Chimey's a good one. Oh, Mario said hairy. I like that one for tones. It's that bit of like zhuzh on the top, that little bit of crunch that you do especially get with fuzzy tones.
Yeah.
That are like, it's not an even distortion. It has this sort of like nastiness to it, but it's a really good thing.
I would like to know where that came from. If like something like a sound has hair, like
it's got hair on it, man.
But where did that originate?
Because when Dr. No came out and Sean Connery took his shirt off, everyone was like, "That's hairy."
Or
and
is it like
it became a positive?
Or is it because like hair is on the top of your head, top end?
Top end, yeah, sure.
I don't know. Someone should
like your hair
out.
stands up.
Yeah,
could be. Matt says Buffalo's the best. Shout out! I knew you'd know. We're gonna put this to the test. Kai's got a good one. I like this one. Hollow.
Ooh.
Because this is a word that we use relatively frequently, and it's an important word.
I would say my first reaction is like without lower mids. Like it's missing something that is syncing the sound into the mix,
Yeah.
where it's not as mid forward and present.
Yes, I would agree. I think it sits farther back in the mix. It's mostly removing that low mid sound where
Right.
you've got an almost like you've got the chirp and the chime, and you've got this low end sort of wool, but then you're starting to pull out the middle, so you get this very like open sounding thing that has
Yeah.
a lot of space in the EQ,
Mhm.
and it sits very deep in a mix. That's a good one. Brandon, sorry I'm late, boys. Been a rough day. Oh shit, man. Hope your day
Yeah, hope you're
improves.
good, dude.
But good good to hear from you. Thanks for dropping in. John says, nice yummy mids to the clean tone on a neck pickup is what I think of. I'm assuming you mean creamy.
Nice.
And or the what was the first one that I said?
Glassy?
Glassy, which all of those things are accurate for sure. Kai says, now describe those things without using other tone words. Impossible. We already talked about that. You have to. Mario, I can't describe it, but I know it when I hear it. That's a good one. I
Nice.
think, and Kai says, I think it's bitier than it is creamy. Might be peak Balaguer live stream content. Yeah, it's true though. But those things, it's hard to describe. It's like wine. You can't tell me how wine tastes until you taste it. You can't tell me what bitey means until you hear it.
Sure.
You can have an idea of it, but you have to experience it to really hear it and have it associated with that word.
Yeah.
To really know what it means. So it is funny that we use all these really dumb words, but they do have real production value, real engineering application to go into a studio, to go into a live setting, to go into a session and say, have a producer or a singer or someone that you're playing with or for tell you, hey, I want the guitar to sound less aggressive. Okay, that's a pretty easy one.
Or more warm. Or
that would be something. So we're getting deeper into the metaphor. Instead of less aggressive, maybe they say warmer. Instead of warmer, maybe they say creamier. Instead of creamier, maybe they say, I want this tone to sound like you're drizzling hot Hershey syrup on a molten chocolate cake.
Syrup.
And smearing it on my face.
Syrup.
What do you call it?
Not that.
What do you call it?
Syrup.
Syrup.
Maple syrup.
Maple syrup.
Maple syrup.
Syrup. Hey, man. I'm not from here.
That's another thing, man. Syrupy.
Syrupy's a good one too.
Yeah.
Which, I would describe as like, typically to me, that's a tone that sounds like it has more gain than it actually does.
Yeah.
Usually it's saggy, has a nice mid presence. Molten. That's a good one. Yeah.
Jesse,
very slaggy tones.
Jesse had clangy.
Clangy's a good one.
For bass, especially.
Yeah. Clangy would be like.
Give me that clang.
Let's see. So I'm going to take it from not clanky to clanky.
It's almost like you need that string noise in there to be clangy.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I love about playing bass is that going from to is all in the control of your pick or your right hand, and it dramatically changes the attitude of what you're playing.
It's that metallic sound, yeah.
It is. It's that clangy metallic sound. Or on a guitar, it's when you really dig in and you get that tone is set up to be tighter and brighter, and you hit it and you get that crunch like in the sound.
It's that gent sound.
Give them the gent. What else do we have? Let's see. Flicking another guitarist pickup selector is an illegal move. Yeah, we understand each other really well. We're so used to flicking each other's switches. It's all we do at work all day. So while we're being creamy and glassy and flicking each other's switches, true story though, if someone did that to me in public, I'd probably punch them. That's like great other live stream. That's also a podcast. High Side, Low Side. The RevZilla guys put that one on. and they were saying, how would you feel if you walked out of somewhere and someone was sitting on your motorcycle? Not maliciously, like maybe they owned one. And they were like, oh, I've never seen one. I just want to sit on it. Would you be like, oh, that's cool? Like, no, you'd probably rip their head off. And they deserve it. And it's not that they're trying to be mean or malicious, but like the lack of common sense is pretty intense in a situation like that.
Well, it's like if you own a convertible car and your top's down, you don't want to walk out and see someone sitting in your car
right,
being like,
exactly.
I
feel like it's the same thing with guitars. You don't go messing with people's stuff. But luckily, Joe and I are well practiced at flicking each other's switches, so we just roll with it now. You're not wrong though, Kai. Let's see. Offset lush. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Lush is a good word that I think people use to describe, especially modulated clean tones. Like for instance,
I heard that a bunch in the UK.
Lush. They like that word, yeah. If you hit G, and what you'll do is play a riff for a second and then switch to C and play the same riff, you'll hear the tone get lush when he switches. Yes. And what that is, in that case, is just a big long delay and a bunch of flange. And what it does is it adds dimension.
Yep.
It almost makes the sound 3D. It fills the space. It moves a lot of air. And that is what I typically associate with a lush sound.
Something that's full-bodied and just from a tonal spectrum standpoint, like really fills out the sound.
Yes.
Whether it's from effects or just how it was mixed, or if it's quad tracked or whatever.
I do think some of the best natural tones can be lush without anything on them.
Yeah.
Like when I think of a clean AC30, or I think of, a plexi dialed in right on the edge, something that's not too sharp, has a really nice depth, 3D character, lots of full spectrum, like a lot of EQ going on.
Overtones, I think, are a big
harmonic overtones.
Big aspect of something sounding that way.
Yes.
You got the full spectrum of lows and highs and everything in between.
Phrasing, boom. I'm behind on everyone's comments, but I appreciate everyone commenting on the things that we've been talking about. Mario says, Harry, it came when someone dropped their pick on the floor and then picked it up, and that's pretty good.
Nice.
Boxy, Nick says. That's a good one.
Ooh.
Boxy's a tough one to describe, I think.
I think that kind of goes hand in hand with, maybe in a different way, though, with hollow, where...
I'd say it's the opposite of hollow, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm getting there. What I mean is, like, it is without a specific type of mid character.
Yes.
Where when I think of boxy, I think of without high mids. Where when I think of hollow, I think without low mids.
Yes.
So it's kind of like maybe the juxtaposition there of that, but yeah, and sometimes maybe like not as much treble as you may want and too much bass.
Yeah, boxy's one that I think can definitely be, I think it's most often used in a negative way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, boxy usually means your tone isn't lush. It's like the opposite of lush. It has no dimension. It's just a very compressed, and I don't mean like with a compressor. I mean, it's a very squished sound that doesn't have a lot of definition, doesn't have a lot of separation in the tone.
Another cool term that I've heard that I think it does a good job of encapsulating the difference between that type of sound and something that is lush or big or full-bodied is like when someone says it's like 3D or three-dimensional, where it like has this character to it that when you're comparing that sound to something that's not that, you immediately are like, whoa, like there's so many other frequencies that are going on that it sounds 3D versus 2D or whatever.
Yeah.
I always thought that was cool.
Yeah. I think another parallel word is when people describe tones as being alive.
Yeah.
Being very alive, meaning there's a lot of life in the tone. There's a lot of complexity, a lot of harmonic content. It's very
Yeah.
3D. It's got a lot of dimension to it. And there are, I mean, again, revisiting the disclaimer, all of these things can be explained in some way, shape, or form in a more production mindset of EQs and effects and how all of that stuff goes. But that's boring, so we're going to talk about it like this.
Yes.
Eat me. The let's see. Jesse said clangy. That was a good one. Boxy. Syrup. Yeah, Kai. Hershey Park. Lee says. Shout out to the PA boys and girls.
Yeah.
Hershey Park, fun place to be. Pretty rad. Unique food and drinks, all made with like chocolate and stuff.
Yeah, it's like an hour from here.
Yeah, it's really rad. If you don't know Hershey Park, look it up. Lee says, make it sound like dark chocolate. So I think you kind of could. If you hit, so I'll give you the sound that I often associate with dark chocolate.
Okay.
If you hit, we switched quad cortexes today, by the way. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah, that's why I don't know what the heck's going on with his GC.
So hit H.
Okay.
Bridge pickup. And give a good mix of like rhythm and lead playing with big sounds. And I think this is pretty chocolatey to me, dark chocolate.
Okay.
So to me, that is a lead sound that's got the mids pushed a little bit. It's boxy in a good way.
What amp is that?
That's the Mesa JP2C,
Ah.
channel 3, set up for lead stuff. That's my go-to lead sound. And
Sounds
it
good.
is, to me, that is a sound that is, when I think of dark chocolate sounds, it's complex, right? It's rich. It's got a lot of harmonic content, a lot of mids, a lot of lows. It's a heavy sound,
Yeah.
savory, sweet sound. But it still has a clarity, complexity. It's light. It's heavy as a cake, but it's still got dimension. It's not like a mousse or a ganache. It's an actual cake.
But you wouldn't go as far as saying it's bitter.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So there's a line in the sand, I think, with some of these terms.
Yeah, you can definitely go over the top. But that's what I would call dark chocolate. Kai says clangy is 20% amp, 80% the way you hit it. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. The amp tone just helps. If you hit it the right way, you'll get clang playing through a freaking clean Fender. Without a doubt. Daryl says, UK here, yeah, Lush gets used a lot. Shout out.
Nice.
Yeah, it does. We recently had a killer time at the guitar show and the bass show in Birmingham. And yeah, that was a fun award that they like to use, which we now also like to use. Lee says boxy equals small amp, Vox or something like an AC4 and AC10. Yeah, I think that specifically combo amps that have a half open back or a full open back, those sorts of sounds lend to being boxier by nature.
Right.
Mesa cabs would also be one that I think have a positive boxiness to them.
Mm-hmm.
They create a sort of mid focus that you don't get in a lot of other amps, which can, if they're paired with the wrong amp, make them sound sterile and kind of gross. But with the right amp, specifically a Mesa, because it's designed to work with that cab most of the time, it sounds huge and open and beautiful. And it sort of complements the head or the amp that you're using. Jesse says, syrup. Yes. Lee's in Pittsburgh. Oh, rad. It's almost as good as Philly, and we're glad to have you in the chat. Mario says, I think, seriously though, we're glad to have you. Mario says, I think Jake's QC only came with the JV2C. That's a fair point.
It's true, though.
It is my go-to tone for just about everything. It would be my Desert Island amp.
What else you got on this patch?
The Bogner, a capture of that amp.
Which one's that?
The next one. Yeah, that's this.
Let me hear it.
Rip it. That's got that clang.
It's got that clang.
See, I like that.
Sounds good, man.
Thank you. I'm a fan. That's the capture of that Uber Ultra behind me. Which
What cabs do you have on it?
the Uber cab.
Oh,
So
okay.
shout out to the Quad Cortex for always being amazing.
Yeah.
The way that I have it set up is my clean tone is a JP2C, my crunch tone is a JP2C, my lead tone is a JP2C, the high gain tone is the Bogner, and all the JP2Cs are played through this cab, meaning like an IR of the Mesa 4x12 cab. And then when I switch to the Bogner, it switches to the Uber cab.
All the C's.
And different mics on each cab, by the way. Pretty cool.
Fancy.
On the Mesas, I had the 57 121, and I think on the Bogner, it's the 57 160, I think. But super good setup and a lot of fun. Check out the Quad Cortex if you haven't. It rules. Let's see. The opposite to lush would be harsh, Daryl says. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because I think harsh is almost never a positive word in the guitar tone community. And it usually means that there's too much edge to your tone, too much high end, too much high mid, not enough low end or low mid or true mid.
Yeah.
Where you just have a tone that's very like scratchy, and it doesn't really have, it has a lot of the things that you look for in a lush complex tone, but
yeah,
all of those things are boosted and everything else is dropped to the point where it just kind of like sounds scratchy and gross.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because that's definitely a negative connotation for guitar tone. But if you think about like someone's vocal tone, a lot of people describe it as harsh vocals.
Oh,
when they're doing screaming and
for
things
sure,
like that.
Sure.
So it's cool to think about that. But yeah.
Well, here's your chance. Pick a word. Give me back. I told you could have your revenge.
Well, you said 3 to me, and I feel like we went through about 14.
Well, we both did them together after the first handful.
I would say.
I'm just saying,
one
you don't have to
for
punish me.
you. One for you would be when something is chuggy.
Kerfuffly.
Chuggy.
I feel like a chug is more of a verb. Well, I guess it could be an adjective.
Now, if you plug into an amp, you'll know if it's chuggy or not.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think people instantly associate chug and chuggy and chugging with high gain, which obviously gain and chugging are related, sort of inextricably linked, if you will. But I don't think it has to be high gain. I think a chug is something that when a sound is chuggy, when you palm mute, because that's what, it's not chuggy if you're not palm muting.
Yeah.
When you're palm muting and you hit something and it has that, it can be tight or it can have a bit of purr to it. There's a fun one. A bit of growl to it. Either way, when something chugs, it has that natural, like, I literally think of a train. I don't know if that's where it came from, but like in the old train videos, there's steam trains and they're getting started and they make that
right.
I hear that first where it's like building momentum.
Sure.
When I hit a guitar and I feel that and it's like I feel the air move and I feel that momentum build, that's what I consider chuggy.
Okay.
Which doesn't have to be high gain. But
here's a difficult one. Woody.
Like Alan or like from Toy Story or
nope.
I think that Woody to me is a balance between like a tone that is round, like we talk about creamy or round tones that have a very balanced mid-range. There's not a lot of high end, not a lot of spike anywhere. It's just a nice neutral tone. I would say a Woody tone in particular typically has a touch of a mid scoop, where it's very just, it's soft. It has a bit of sag, like when you think of wood being a softer material.
Sure.
It's like if you shout at a concrete wall, you get hit back in the face with the sound wave.
Yeah.
If you shout at a plywood wall, it sort of absorbs some of the sound, and the sound comes back a little softer.
Sure.
So I would describe a Woody tone as warm, soft, typically a little scooped in the mids.
I agree.
With a little bit of sag and a nice touch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I had to think of one other one, it would probably be
Scrangly.
And this is something that's like more straightforward, I think, because it's kind of in the name, but like if we're playing through an amp and we're like, oh, it's like really articulate.
Sure. Yeah, I think articulate, in a way, is one of those parallel words, sort of like 3D or complex.
Yep.
Although I would say separate from lush,
Hmm.
because I think lush tones don't have to be articulate.
No.
I think articulate, what I think you'll hear often with guitar playing, is it's when you can hear every note in the chord when you play something.
Yep.
So it can be a warm, round, woody, fat tone,
Yep.
but it has a clarity across the strings. The EQ is balanced in a way where from the lowest string to the highest string, nothing cancels anything else out,
Right.
and you don't lose anything in the signal. I
For
think
sure.
articulate is often misunderstood as bright or aggressive, and it definitely doesn't have to be that.
No.
But it can be, and I think it probably is easier to get an articulate tone with
Yeah.
brighter sounds. I think the best articulate tones have that underlying sort of warmth, harmonic complexity thing.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to also compare a lot of these tone words in whatever medium you're describing. So, like, if I'm talking about an amp, I may not describe it in the same way that I'm talking about like guitar pickups,
Right.
or
That's a good
other
point,
other
actually.
types of um, tonal instruments or whatever, or when you're mixing an album or whatever. Like, it's just interesting to see how, while there are some parallels, sometimes the meanings are slightly a bit more skewed based on what you're talking about.
I think that's a good point. I think if I were, oh, I'm trying to think of an example right now. That's a good one.
Like beefy, like if I'm thinking about making a beefy set of humbuckers, but then I'm trying to achieve a beefy sound on an amplifier, those could be two different things
Sure.
based on what your outcome needs to be.
Sure.
So like a beefy set of humbuckers could be overwound, high output, high resistance, ceramic magnets, and they're just like a wall of sound. Or they could be lower output, overwound,
I see what you mean.
Alnico 2 magnets, and be
Sure.
beefy as in high bass, low mids,
Right.
things like that. So it's cool to kind of think that it may not have a singular meaning, and
That's
it may
true.
be based on kind of how you're trying to describe it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think if anyone can think of any other ones, drop those in. I'd be curious, because I think those are when we get into the real depth of it all. Yo, John Bleeker. Hey, yo.
Hey.
That's Sparkle, my gosh, he says.
Yes.
Yeah, that's our metallic rose gold sparkle that we did for the USA stuff. Super rad.
It sparkles. That's for sure.
Stay in touch about USA stuff, John. Don't ask me why on the live stream though. Kai says womp, not womp. Sorry, womp is one that I use often. Kai, you'll have to explain that one. I don't know womp.
Womp. Is that a British thing?
I don't know. To me, it makes me. I feel like it has to be the equivalent of wow,
Needs
right?
to womp.
Right? Like that's what
know.
I'm thinking of. Explain it, Kai. We need to know. Inquiring minds need to know.
I think of like womp womp.
Well, me too.
Yeah.
Speaking of Archer as well. Womp womp. Daryl says tinny. That's a good one. I think tinny is one that tones that are very chimey, chirpy, have a lot of like attack when you hit the string.
Yeah.
They have like a clang to them. All of tinny can be in those categories. I associate tinny with something like a lot of like Stevie Ray Vaughan's later tones that are like sort of a more mid-gain tone.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like clank and
High-end.
attack in them.
Yeah.
I would think that's tinny, where it's still warm, but not in the same way that we would think of like high gain warm. It's more of like just a nice tone, like Strat position 4 and 2. I think would lean into those sounds.
The best positions.
Yeah, I'm a neck position Strat guy. Lee says I find great sounds often bumping up in the mid frequencies depending on the head and cab. Yeah, I mean, anyone who says that the guitar isn't, I don't know why I'm pointing at me. The guitar, I mean, it's a mid instrument, right? Like not mid as in not cool, mid as in like it's a mid focused instrument in the EQ spectrum.
Yeah.
If you pull all the mids out of a guitar tone, it often sounds great by itself. Then you put it in a mix and it sounds like trash because you have all the low frequencies of the bass, you have the mid frequencies of someone's voice, you have the high and low frequencies that come from the drums as a kit.
And the cymbals, yeah.
And the cymbals. The guitar is the easiest signal to lose in the mix.
Yep.
So usually people end up cutting, like producers and engineers end up cutting lows and highs and boosting mids to get the guitar to sit in a particular place.
Mhm.
I think it's why amps like the 5150 became so popular.
Yeah.
Because they are very mid forward.
Mhm.
Also, why so many of the boosted tones, I don't know why I put that in quotes, boosted tones with with TS-808s, Tube Screamers and stuff, they boost the mids and cut the highs and lows.
Exactly.
That's why those things do what they do.
Yep.
Loose, Nick says. Yeah, I would describe loose as, that's a good one that there are two words for. I think a tone can be loose, meaning like floppy, literally, like it's not a very articulate tone.
Right.
But it can also be loose as in saggy, like a positive thing.
Yeah,
like a loose feeling tone.
Like not immediate.
Yeah, the attack is
slower.
Delayed almost. Almost like having a slapback delay on or something like that.
For sure.
That's a good one. Kai says Womp is like a low-end resonance thing, like 80 to 120. Big muff folding in on itself. Oh, okay.
Ooh,
okay.
That is a cool sound.
See, there's a good one. And I think that's something, if you've ever played like a big muff or a nasty fuzz, and you hit it really hard and it sort of caves in on itself, that's exactly what it is. So that's a good one. And it is like a womp. It's like everything goes womp, and it just kind of like collapses on itself for a second.
Back up, yeah.
Yeah, really cool. That's a good one, Kai. Hell yeah. And John says, what is glass or glassy? We touched on this one earlier, but I'll let Joe give it. He gave an example, so give us an example of glassy, Joe. I think you want E. Yeah, to me, for sure. That's it, right? You get that. It's warm. It's lush. It's a lot of the other words we described, chimey, but still has like this really round, warm, clear character to it.
Those three words, I think, like define that for me.
Round, warm, and clear.
Yep.
Yeah. I do think there's a cool thing specifically with glassy tones where the harder you hit them, the sharper they get, like broken glass. See what I did there? Where I think when you're playing it a certain way, it's very like,
you have to be delicate.
Yeah. And if you, for instance, upstrokes for people who play a certain way typically have more click in the sound.
Yep.
So when you're playing a very glassy tone, if you're downstroking, down picking, it typically has a very warm fat sound. And then when you up pick, it has a much chimier sound. So it's this balance of hard and soft and glassy, clear and chimey, and all of the words that would describe glass at your local hardware store. Yeah,
listen to any John Petrucci clean tone, and that'll get you there.
Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
It's kind of what he goes for, it seems.
Nick says, "Whoop, there it is." Whoop, there it is.
Nice.
So we're gonna wrap up because we've been here for a minute. We got a bit of a late start, so we didn't want to deprive everyone the luxury of talking about ridiculous words that have no context outside of this live stream.
Yes.
We'll probably do a part 2 of this, maybe even a part 3, because these words are infinite. So be thinking about them.
But maybe part 2, you're on guitar, we're both on guitar, and we try and come up with a tone where we have to guess each other's terms.
Ooh, I like that.
Each other's tone words.
Tonetermwords.com.
Yes.
I like that. That's a good idea. We should do that.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that in the future.
Part 2.
Kai says, under a glassy moon.
Yes.
Joe, with the guitar in your hand.
I see what you did there. I am not playing that.
That is, for the record, my favorite Dream Theater song, and also the best solo John Petrucci's ever played.
It's up there for sure.
So good. I think it's one of the few solos that exist that are absolutely perfect. Every single note, every single touch.
So where are we going in September, Jake?
So in September, if you are European, or if you're not, but it'd be easier if you were, we will be at Guitar Summit in Mannheim, Germany. Come see us. Come hang out. We're kind of reminding people as we approach the show, even this far away, because we want people to be able to make plans. We have a bigger booth than we did last year, if you saw us last year. So we'll have more stuff to play, more stuff to see.
Come hang out.
Come hang out. Say hello. It'll be awesome. Also, check out the things we have available for pre-sale. Go to the website, BalaguerGuitars.com.
Yes.
We will be announcing more stuff soon. Join the newsletter. Join the discussion group.
Yeah, maybe even next week.
Maybe even next week. Follow us on Instagram. Do all of that stuff so you can see that stuff.
Yes.
Spring cleaning sale going on right now. Everything's on sale. If it's in the in-stock section, it's on sale. Check it out. Save yourself some money and get some sick gear while you're at it to fill, say it with me, fill the void with gear. Yeah. So check all that stuff out. If you're not celebrating anything, great. If you're celebrating Ramadan, have a blessed Ramadan.
Yes.
We know that it's coming to an end here shortly, so I hope everyone's had a good fast and a generous Ramadan. Other than that, we hope everyone has a great weekend. This has been Joe. That has been Joe.
Jake.
This has been Jake. Our friends call us Joe and Jake, but you can call us Joe and Jake. And yeah, we'll be here in a couple weeks. We're going to riff a little bit, and hope everyone has a great weekend. Thanks for hanging out.
Yes.
And we will talk to everyone soon. We're going to riff a little bit, and then we'll shut it down.
Yep.
See you all later. Thanks for hanging.
See you.